The conference is part of a Wilton Park series on humanitarian and peacekeeping issues being held in this former stately home near Brighton in the south of England. Among the delegates, Ross Mountain is the deputy representative of the UN Secretary-General in the Congo, where the UN's largest current peacekeeping force is deployed.
The United Nations has what for the United Nations is the largest peacekeeping mission, but if you look at that in a per capita or in terms of square kilometers covered, it's the smallest peacekeeping mission of 18,000, about the same number of troops that were in Liberia and Sierra Leone. The neutrality that we work to preserve, now is obviously focusing on the protection of civilians. Interestingly, the mandate of the United Nations force there, number one, under Chapter 7, the right to use force, is the protection of civilians. An area, of course, that meets a number of the concerns of the humanitarian community, and so we've sought to work out how, without one side doing the work of the other, in working together, we can effectively protect civilians who unfortunately are the subject of all kinds of violence, murder, rape, and worse.
Humanitarian aid agencies, independent of government affiliations, can often win the trust of both sides in a conflict or natural disaster.
We aim to be impartial, neutral, and independent. And so if we're going to carry that out, yet there are a bunch of other military people in the area, there may be people on peacekeeping missions or other military actors in that area, then we need to be very careful about how we even are seen to communicate with them, if we are to communicate with them. And we have quite strict rules around how we would engage or not. Certainly the perceptions of peacekeepers by people in the area where they're sent can vary dramatically and can vary over time with the same force because of behaviours and because of incidents that happen. So we need to be very careful that we are sticking to what we say we will do, which is be impartial, neutral and independent. And so it's a fine line.
Maintaining neutrality is a key challenge for humanitarian organisations in conflict zones.
We were in Bosnia all during the conflict there, and it was very clearly a situation where as soon as we crossed a checkpoint, we were seen as having assisted the other side. Now, I think a good deal of the cover, if you will, that we had was based upon the fact that we clearly were being as impartial as possible, regardless of the circumstance which temporarily associated with one military or another. But to the extent that we could maintain our visible impartial behavior, that typically stood us in good stead.
You deal with the situation on the ground, and you try to make it work. I'm pleased to say, at the present time, it's actually moving ahead rather well. And the bottom line of this is we have been able to save many thousands of lives through this kind of interaction.
Proceedings of this and other Wilton Park conferences are available on the Wilton Park website.